All right, hey folks. So today I want to speak a little bit about diet mentality and really the way you speak to yourself, your inner dialogue. I don't have any notes for this one. This is just a heart-to-heart talk with you guys about diet mentality and what I've seen in 7 years as a coach and just in my experience of life. So just to kind of kick off, negative self-talk is more detrimental for your progress than whatever action you're speaking to yourself about. Like if you deviate from your diet and you just think to yourself, oh, I'm a loser, I've messed up, all of that is going to be far more detrimental for your overall progress than the small deviation that happened. So I'll give you an example of how this conversation came about, and I'll talk you through what I said to this client. So I've got a client, he's doing great. He's lost about 15 pounds of body fat since we first started together. He's doing really well. Now, he's American, and on the 4th of July, he let loose a little bit, celebrations. And he wrote in his notes that it was a failure. He failed on that day. And so I had to correct him on that because he viewed himself as he viewed it as a loss, an L. And I just said to him, look, it's not. It was the 4th of July. You're a human being. You've also lost 15 pounds, so you're well on track to hit your target. You're doing great. And I had to kind of emphasize this negative self-talk, it pervades through your mentality. And actually, if you speak to yourself like that, you're going to have a much worse chance of succeeding in the end. And it may put you off the diet altogether. Like nobody likes to feel like crap. But at the same time, we're all human beings. Things happen. So the analogy that I used was this. I said, imagine you're a kid in a classroom, okay? And you're taking notes. Your teacher has asked you to take some notes, okay? You're a little kid, you're 11 years old. Your teacher's asked you to take some notes. Now, your teacher's also said, you need to write on the lines, okay? Don't write outside the lines. So you're like, okay, so you're there, 11-year-old kid, smile on your face, new class, teacher, seems all right. And all of a sudden, by accident, you write outside the line because you know what? You're human. You're a kid. Things happen. And instead of looking at it and sort of smiling, your teacher looks at it and just starts screaming at you. Starts screaming at you, berating you in front of the class, in front of everyone, and just says you're a failure, you can't do that, over and over again. Now, do you think that's going to contribute to you doing it better the next time or not? Honestly. Now, I used to be a school teacher, so I can safely say it does not, okay? All that's going to do is scare the hell out of a child and probably put them off the subject for life. But in that analogy, if you speak like that to yourself with this, with this fear, a deviation from your diet, you are simultaneously the small child and also the teacher. Your inner dialogue is the teacher. It doesn't help. So we really have to stop speaking to ourselves like that. And this persists not only in diet, but it also persists in life and everything really. But today I just want to focus on diet. That negative self-talk doesn't do anything for you. Acknowledge what happened, acknowledge you're a human being, maybe acknowledge the events that led up to that, but you're not a failure. In fact, you've already succeeded over the last 15 pounds, or for you guys who are listening, whatever is your own particular goal, you've already proven you've succeeded. You can do it. But if you insist on focusing on the deviations, the small, slip-ups, all that's going to do is put you off in the long term because no one wants to feel like a failure. And you're not, because you've already proven to yourself you can do it. But what happens is, if you focus on the negatives, if you focus on where you've slipped up, all that's going to do is to reinforce in your head that you're a failure over and over again, and eventually you'll quit. And before you know it, you'll be off the diet or whatever else you were doing, whatever it is you're doing. Perhaps you were, it was a mass gaining phase, or perhaps just something in life. Perhaps you were going for a promotion or whatever, I don't know, a relationship or something, who knows? But anyway, it'll contribute to feelings of failure. And eventually, because we don't like to feel like that, you'll just completely go off and be put off doing the entire thing. And this is how you get people who are chronic dieters who've been dieting for 20 years, and they have this negative self-talk in their heads. And eventually they get to the point where they don't even want to weigh themselves in the morning because they're like, oh no, I don't have a good relationship with the scale. It's because of stuff like this. They place so much importance on these things, and when there's slight deviations, they come down on themselves like a ton of bricks. Or even worse, they have a coach who comes down on them like a ton of bricks. They think the tough love stuff is the way forward, but actually it's not. It's terrible. I can safely say this, guys, from working with loads of people over the last 7 years. The guys who will start off saying, you know, they get on well, they like the tough love, that I can speak to them honestly and brashly, they are always the ones who are worse with it, right? But they make a big deal out of it. But they almost have this weird sort of symbiotic relationship with feeling like crap, because that's all they're used to. They're not used to being approached with kindness. In a sense, it almost scares them, because they're just used to this cycle of kind of self-abuse, really. And it's a really sad thing to see. But my message to you guys is, if you are in that situation, stop speaking to yourself like that. Okay, you're better than that. You've already proven to yourself you can hit whatever goal it is you're trying to achieve. You've already proven to yourself you can move towards that. If there's a slight deviation from the plan, you're human. Pick it up the next day or the next meal, whatever. If you're not at that point yet and you're listening to this thinking to yourself, oof, glad I don't do that, good. I'm happy for you. And just be aware that there are people out there, there are other people out there, coaches out there as well, sadly, who will push this type of thing and will either directly or indirectly say, look, you're a failure if you can't stick to this plan, you can't do this, can't do this. But oftentimes those people are the most disordered themselves and have the worst relationships with themselves. So just bear that in mind. Be kind to yourself. Okay. Yes, we're all trying to achieve our goals. Very little is gained by coming down on yourself like the angry teacher was to the imaginary child. It's not productive to have that negative self-talk. I'm going to call it there. That's really all I wanted to say today. I thought it was an important enough message to turn into a small video. So hopefully you guys found that useful, and I'd love to know your comments and your thoughts on that in the comments. Take care.